Hello everyone, I hope you're well. I hope this video finds you all looking forward to the next few days, which apparently is going to be warm weather. Can you believe it? I believe it when I see it, but there you go. Not that I go out much in the hot weather, but I know most of you will love that. So what I thought I'd do today is I would just create a journal page just for the fun of it. So I'm using my journal that is just over 5 inches by just over 8 inches on each page, and it's sort of watercolor paper. You can see it's actually got a texture to it, so things move around on there really nicely. So I thought I'd begin with my artsy alphas and numbers. I love this background stamp, and I haven't got the ink out that I need, which is typical. Every time I start, I always decide there's an ink pad I need and I haven't got it out. So I'm going to use my VersaMark ink, my watermark stamp pad. Let's just move these like so. And then I'm just going to ink the stamp up, but I'm not going for, you know, a perfectly regimented impression. I'm going for sort of just a random feel. And the way I'm going to get that is I can curl the stamp, or, so I'm going to go down this side. So, or I can just press lightly in some areas, not all areas, and just get a slight impression, which is really good because you can't see a thing. So just reach for that copy of paper, and I'll just add the embossing just so that we can see where we're going, because we certainly can't now. Now, if you've used black ink recently on your stamp, then just remember to give that a little bit of a clean, because you don't want that black ink to completely, totally stain your VersaMark ink. Don't worry about a little bit of staining, that's fine. Let me see if I can lift this up just so that you can see. Hopefully you can see there. I've got the embossing on there, and it sort of has a nice random feel to it. But I can actually see now where I'm going. I've got my fan on. It's a good job it's gentle because I'm actually using embossing powder. Not a good mix really, a fan and embossing powder. But hey ho. So then I'm going to just, and if I just press in certain areas, you won't get a complete impression, which sort of adds to the sort of artsy feel of your background. Let's just, now if you've handled your pages quite a bit, then rub over those pages with an anti-static bag, just to prevent those stray embossing powder crystals just sticking where you don't want them. So let's just extend it a little bit more. I've almost sort of gone down that page. So hopefully I've got a little bit of an impression at the bottom. If I tried to do this with my other fan, we'd have crystals, embossing powder everywhere. I keep calling them crystals. We'd have embossing powder everywhere. There we go. Lovely. Now, have I got enough? I think what I'm going to do is just add a little bit. I love how I can just add little bits more, and if you want to, you can remove some of the embossing with a brush so that it's even more random if you wish. So what I'm going to do is just extend a little bit there. Let's see if that's I keep putting me piece of paper back. I just love how I can just pick bits and pieces from this, and it's just lovely. Right, there we go. Now let's just put the lid on that embossing powder, because you know what will happen, don't you? I can feel that embossing powder all over my hand. So what we're going to do now is give that we're going to heat that to melt it. So I'm just heating the heat tool up just to give that a bit of time. I'll just turn the fan down a little bit. Just so it doesn't cool down what I'm heating up. So let's start from the top to the bottom. And it doesn't matter too much about your page curling in your journal, because when you close the journal, it'll soon sort of flatten out again over time. And again, as I always say, once you've started embossing an area and it starts to melt, just move your heat tool, just so that you don't over melt certain areas, because you don't want it to go back to being flat. Because I've heated the heat tool up, that's turning nice and quickly now. I know if you've got those heat tools that come to a point and are longer, obviously it turns a lot quicker, but I like the fact that I've got the control with this, and it just doesn't, it's not too, you know, too blowy, too overpowerful. A little bit there. Right, and you can normally lift your page up and you can see if you've missed anywhere. And to be honest, it really doesn't matter, because this is so random. You know, I've not done perfectly stamped image. I've done it so that it's part of our background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Mustard Seed Distress Oxide ink. And I'm going to use my blending tools that I've now got in stock. I just love these. They're super soft. I like the fact that you've got the white brush, because then you can see what colour you've used, because I like everything the same colour in my craft room, just so it's more cohesive. And then I can just see, even with it on the side, what colours I've used on the brush. The brushes come with 5 brushes in the pack, and they're just wonderful. So I'm going to start with the fossilized amber, and I don't just sort of apply ink like that. Even if I'm just applying a light layer or I'm applying a dark layer, so if I'm applying a light layer, I'll hold my hand further up in the brush. If I'm bringing it a little bit darker, I bring my hand down further onto the brush. I still add a good layer of ink. This brush has never been used, so it needs priming. And what I mean by that is I need it to have a good layer of that ink, so I don't scrimp on there. So what I'm going to do is just sort of add a couple of layers of the ink just on there. Now, then I'm going to go to my, I've got not enough room, spiced marmalade. So we'll add a little bit of spiced marmalade. Again, look how very little. Look how we've only got a small amount of colour on there. So we just need to blend and build up the layer of that ink onto those bristles, just so that it just takes on that coating of ink. So we're just, and I'm not sort of going, oh, I've added a bit of orange here, so I'm going to add a bit of orange there. No, I'm just being quite free about the whole process. So that's my orange. I'm then going to use shaded, spit it out. I think I need a clean brush for that. Let's get a clean another brush because I haven't got one that colour. And if I want to add smaller areas of colour, I can use the smaller brush in the pack. So I'm using, didn't say I could speak when I was doing these videos, you know. Absolutely hopeless at speaking. So I'm just picking up the Shaded Lilac. Now my Shaded Lilac is quite dry, but still got a good layer of colour on there. Just be careful. I've just gone into the yellow. Let's get a piece of scrap paper. Just be careful when you've got the yellow, when you're adding, not the yellow, the orange, when you're adding the Shaded Lilac. Just be aware, because you don't want to sort of make the brown colours. There we go. So then I'm going to go to Wilted Violet. Now Wilted Violet is a lot brighter colour. And what I don't want to do is overpower everything with the Wilted Violet. So just take a little bit of our Wilted Violet, and we can go back in and we can add more colour if we wish. So then I'm going to add Candied Apple. Nice bit of red. Just add a bit of red. But if you've got them all out, all the colours out, just be aware, like you've just seen me do, dip my brush in the wrong colour. Now, if you're going to have blending brushes for VersaFine Clair, keep those blending brushes for VersaFine Clair. Don't mix them with your Oxide. Please don't do that. So let's bring in some more of that fossilized. No, let's bring in some more of that mustard seed. And the mustard seed, you can blend your other colours, especially the reds and the oranges, but don't those colours just look really pleasing? Let's put the lids on some of these so that we don't get in a total mess, which is me all over. Shaded Lilac. And you know, I think we might need a little bit of pink. So we have a bit of pink. So we'll have a little bit of picked raspberry. So I'll have a little bit of picked raspberry, just to bring in a little bit of the pink. Oh, I keep touching that little bit of elastic in my book. Oh yes, just a little bit of the pink. There we go. So we've got all our colours on our page, and then we'll just take a little bit of kitchen roll. Just fold that over. Nobody needs this much kitchen roll, but we'll just give that kitchen roll a little spritz with water, and we'll just dab off. Can you see the colour? You can either dab or you can wipe over. So I've dabbed, or you can wipe over. So you can just go like that if you wish. You can just wipe over. So we've got the stamped image plus the texture from the watercolour, which is just divine. So then we'll add some splatters to our page. We'll just give that a few moments just to do its thing, but just so you can see, isn't the detail of that just beautiful? I absolutely love it. So just give that a couple of seconds just to do its thing, and then we can dab those bleached areas. And look how much colour you left. But quite simply then, you've just got such a beautiful background. I told you I can't speak. But now we've got these colours in the background. And if I want to do some permanent stamping as well, let's bring in this paper here. It should really work, not on paper, but on a piece of cotton. Mind you, I've got no watercolour, so the paper will be fine. So let's just have a look at some colours that I've got. So that is lilac blue. What else have we got? Let's have a look at this one. Taking the plastic off some of my VersaFine Clairs, and I'm checking if these are colours that I want to use. So we've got baby pink, lilac blue. I love the fact that we've now got a proper red in the VersaFine Clair. Oh yes. So shall we use some of those colours just to do a little bit of stamping in the background as well, sort of tone on tone stamping. So let's start with the lightest colour. So I'm going to use the same stamp. So I'm going to use this Artsy Alphas and Numbers still. And I'm going to start with the baby pink. Now, I don't want to sort of overpower the area too much, but I can just add a little bit. Well, I hardly touch that actually. So let's just add a little bit more. Now, don't forget, if you touch the white embossing, we can wipe that away. So don't stress too much. So what I've got is I've got some tone on tone stamping. And trust me, in real life, it's just beautiful. Let's add a little bit more of that baby pink. Now, sort of aim for your light areas with the baby pink. Let me lift this up just so that you catch the light areas. And what you can do, again, just make sure you've got a slightly damp kitchen roll, and you just wipe over to remove some of that. And I've got this beautiful in the background. So that's my baby pink. I'm then going to use my lilac blue. So let's use a little bit of lilac blue. And again, try not to stamp the whole of your area. So can you see now, we've got that lilac bloom on there. And what we can do is just use a little bit just to wipe. But can you see this sticks in the, because the stamp, if you look at the stamp, it's got these open areas, hasn't it? So in the open areas, some of that VersaFine Clair permanent colour sits in there, which is just yummy. So let's have a little bit more of the lilac blue. And let's have, and you can see I'm not going too much. I'm not overpowering everything. Now I'm just going to wipe over that stamp, mainly because I'm going to go to the red, and I don't really want it to be affected by the colours underneath. There we go. So I'm going to use this strawberry, and I would imagine that this is going to be a lot stronger colour. So I'm just aware of that. So let's add a little bit here. Oh, lovely. And then we'll add down here. I absolutely love this. I love the background. I love the fact that even though the background stamp we're using is A7, it doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter at all. And just so you can see, that strawberry, yummy, just yummy. Right. Now I don't really clean my stamps. The only reason I'm cleaning that is just so that whatever colour I use next isn't affected by, say, the reds or the purples, and it doesn't change the colour in any shape or form. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my, I think I'll get my biro. And I'm just enjoying the process of this. I'm not, you know, worrying too much. So, yeah. So we're going to add this circle. So I've now got a circle there, and I can add more of these colours if I wish to this circle, because all you need to do is take this circle, which is about 3.25, and what we'll do is we'll take our blending brushes again and we can see what colours we've got. So I've got picked raspberry, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the picked raspberry. And it doesn't matter that we're adding colour on the top, because we can always wipe it off that embossed area. I can see a little bit of candied apple. So let's take a little bit of candied apple and add candied apple. Again, you can use low-tack tape just to mask off your area if you wish. So I can see a little bit of candied apple. I can see a little bit of wilted violet. So let's just add a little bit more wilted violet. I tested it first because I don't want to overpower with our wilted violet. So I'm building up the colours in this circular area. So then I can take my mustard seed. Let's see if there's enough on there. Let's just add a little bit more. Mustard seed, the yellow, sort of adds some brightness to your design. It really does. Let's add a little bit here. It takes me longer to put the lid. Honestly, how many ink pads can you have all over the place? So then just take a little bit of your kitchen roll. Again, you can swipe or you can just dab the colour off. It takes the colour off a little bit gently if you dab it. If you swipe it, obviously it tends to take a little bit more colour off, but I want to keep some of that vibrancy, just so that you can see this circle then has then got a little bit more vibrancy, but we will add to that anyway. Okay. So now we need some cardstock, and I'm going to get some different size circles. So this is about 2 3/4. Well, that is the worst drawing round of a circle I've ever seen. So, and then that one's got a little bit of a bump on it, so let's use this one. These are so well used, you have to remember that. If you've got your dies, you can just cut them out. If you don't have your dies, just draw around a jar. You can work it anyway. So, we're just building up a lovely background. And this is what I love about an A7 background. You often think you can only sort of create something that is A7. Well, you know, the possibilities are endless. Now, I'm drawing around this circle. Obviously, if you die cut it, you get perfection. I'm not getting perfection when I'm cutting it around myself, but that's fine by me. I like the organic feel, and I'm going to distress the edges anyway. So we're adding a little bit of dimension to our page, but not so much that your page is not going to close. So we're going to add some of the colours that we've got in our background piece. So let's just add a little bit of the mustard seed, which, to be honest, I'm wiping more over my fingers than I am actually on the circles. Oh, I've got the worst wipes as well that just tear. Now, you don't have to wipe that up. You can mop that up with another piece of card if you want. So then let's use a little bit of mustard seed. Little bit of mustard seed. I think we'll just pick up a little bit more colour. Let's pick up a little bit more brightness. That's better. And we'll just pick up a little bit more of that mustard seed. I do love mustard seed for just bringing in that much needed brightness. So then we can use our candied apple. And again, you will get orange tones as you go into the yellow. I like how I can't find the lids. And it's funny, when I come to using purples, I always sort of clean my surface. I think it's just a habit that I've got into, mainly because, you know, you mix purple and orange and you're going to get muddy brown. So a little bit of shaded lilac, a little bit of that shaded lilac. And then we'll come into the wilted violet. Into that wilted violet. Again, we'll just wipe that up. And then we'll just grab a little bit of pink. Let's move these all out of the way, and we've got a little bit of space. I love the size of this brush. What a nice fat head on it. So let's just bring in a little bit of the pink and swap the areas that you may be adding the pink, because if you add the pink to the yellow, obviously you're going to get some orange tones, but it does look quite nice when it comes onto the purple areas. There we go. So then we can move that out of the way, and we're just enjoying ourselves, just enjoying creating our page. So what I'm going to do then is this time I'm going to use some VersaFine Clair Nocturne. Now I do have all the VersaFine Clair new colours in stock, and I do have the Nocturne in stock, so I've got those all on my website. So I'm then going to stamp in the black. Now I don't know how much of the circular area I'm going to use. Now I could quite easily go like that and just stamp, but I'm going to get the edges, and I sort of want it a little bit more random than that. So what I'm going to do is press this on here. Now you use your acrylic block if you wish, because you do have to be careful when you're using the stamp like this. You do have to be careful that you don't over press, because you can get sort of a double impression, and you just need to be aware of that. So I could quite easily just have pressed the circle onto the A7 stamp, but it wouldn't be quite as pleasing or as artsy if I did it that way. That's why I'm doing it this way. So I want to just fill that little area there. So just add some little... See, my problem is I forget where I've inked. I'm terrible. There you go. So I can just fill in little areas. So I can just fill. And you can just add bits of black ink just pressed everywhere. So we can... So you don't have to press too hard when you're using it like that. But for me, that is more pleasing that way. Now, with the smaller stamp, the smaller circle, obviously it's different, because you can literally just stamp straight on because it's such a small area. So I don't get sort of a lined effect on that. I can't remember whether I've inked the whole stamp. I always ink the whole stamp, even though I'm sort of stamping a small area, because I know me, I will then stamp it and use the area that I haven't inked, because I'm good like that. There we go. So don't sort of flatten your stamp too much when you're pressing it, especially when you're not using an acrylic block. I just think this stamp is just fantastic. Just love it. So we've then got those. So let's just give that, let's put them together. Let's just give that a dry. Just to dry some of that ink, because we've got it on the Oxide base. So we're just giving that VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink a little bit of a dry, because it's got such a good open time, which is why we love it so much. Right. And then I'm just going to see if that's dry enough. And what you can do is you can just add some touches of white to your lettering, just to make it pop a little bit more. But don't go too overboard and add too much. Just some little touches here and there of the white, just to sort of give it a pop of detail. And it just works so nicely with this alphabet. Let me just lift those up for you. Just giving it little pops of white. Oh, really love that. I adore that stamp. Just love this stamp. And look, we've done nothing else yet apart from use this stamp. So then it's just playing around with your composition, because what I want to do, where are we, is I'm going to add one of my florals, just to, now you've got to play around, so I do prefer it sort of, and then what do I, honestly, I could faff for England. So I quite like it there, so I can still see that circle. I don't like it like that separated, because it doesn't look sort of as cohesive to me. I do quite like, I like that one. Yep. So let's grab our adhesive. And you're not creating too much depth. It's just your piece of card, and your journal will still close quite nicely. So that'll be, there we go. Then you could add some of your distress spritz if you wish. I haven't got one yet. I've got some coming in the shop this evening, so I'll have some online this evening, the distress spritz. But I haven't got any yet. I will do eventually. Mainly because I ordered enough for the shop, but not for myself. But there you go. So let's just... I absolutely love this stamp. I just think it makes such a statement. It's amazing. And I'm just going over with the side that I didn't put the embossing on, just to sort of press those down. Oh, just love it. Absolutely love that. So I need my Inktense pencil. Now I might do things sometimes in a different order than you probably would if you were at home and you'd pre-planned the project. When you've pre-planned a project, you'll sometimes do things in a different order. But I'm doing this off the cuff. So sometimes I like to see how something's going to look. So I'm going to add my I'm going to add my Inktense pencil. I can't speak. I told you I can't speak. Add my Inktense pencil all the way around here, and then I'm going to add the Inktense pencil all the way around this circle. So we'll just grab our brush, a little bit of water, and then let's just activate. If it's too much, just blend that out a little bit. Now it's obviously easier if you turn your book, which sometimes, if you've got as little space as I've got, isn't always the easiest thing. But you can see I'm blending that out, and now I've got very little water because I want the blend around the circle, but I don't want to take it too far. I just want the shading around the circles. Let me move that so that you can actually see. Yes, you can. So just add, and you can see it's quite dark there, so just I can blend that out, just soften it a little bit, but it just gives that much needed shading, just to give that a little bit of definition, you know. And if you're not happy because it's too dark, just lighten that up a little bit. Now I'm going to add, actually what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take my Winsor & Newton gouache. It's an opaque, so you can use your opaque paints. I can't get it out the cupboard. There we go. And I'm going to add a few more circles just to give some lightness and brightness. And I'm going to do that with my finger. It's just the easiest way. I'm just going to take my finger. Like I said, I'm just going to take my finger. I'm just going to dip my finger in the gouache. Nice good layer. And when I add it with my finger, it's a nice good layer of paint. I've got all different size circles cut from this card. This is like my template. This gouache is lovely and rich. And what I'll show you is, look how it goes over the black. Just wonderful. So let's try not to press that in there. So I'm using my finger because I can add a good thick layer then, rather than doing it with a brush where the layer's so thin. There we go. Let's add, now I've got these very tiny circles that I just punched out with a paper punch. So I can just add. And you can see that it picks up some of the oxide, but I just add it on nice and thickly. And then I've got that whiteness on there. There we go. That's it. I can't have even numbers because I'm a bit strange like that. Let's have another little, I've got a little tiny circle here. Hardly any paint on there, but that's, do you know, I'm so stingy. Put a bit of paint out, Tracy. Now, if you don't like using your finger, obviously you can use your paintbrushes. Let's just. Now, I've got some of that gouache on there on my desk, so let's use it. That wipe is not even clean, so let's use that, and then we can add some splatters just with our gouache. Have I got a little splatter brush? Maybe one a bit thicker. There we go. I've got that gouache and I'm just going to add, and you can see I've got a big blob of gouache there. But it's nice and rich, so it goes a long way. There we go. Let's just clean that. And when I use sort of watered down paint, I just spread it everywhere. So let's just give my brush a little bit of a clean, mainly because this is a half decent brush and I don't have many half decent brushes. And if you've got a bowl of water, can you see how pigmented the gouache is? So if I do it again, you can still see it's cloudy, but it's clean enough, that is. But the gouache is, you know, it's got that, it's opaque and it's very pigmented. And we've just got, oh, I just love that. So we can just give that a few seconds just to dry. And then we can come in with the stencil that I didn't know where I'd put. Let's grab another piece of card, and which, let me just decide, yeah. So now you need to decide what colour you're going to pick out. Let's pick out the purple, maybe a bit of pink as well. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start with the light colour, which is Shaded Lilac. You could also, if you've got a coloured background like that, because you've got the cutouts to this stencil, you could place the cutouts onto the background and spritz over with the Distress Spritz. And then lift the cutout bits. So I'm taking the Shaded Lilac. I adore this stencil. So And I will not be discontinuing any of my products. They will always be available in the shop. Because I'll always keep smaller quantities in. You know, obviously the longer they've been on the market, I'll always keep a small amount in for those new customers and those that like to collect as well. So we've got the shaded lilac. I'm then going to use some of the wilted violet. Just to add a little bit of the wilted violet. Oh, I just love doing this. I just adore these brushes. I love stamping, creating, love it all. Right, so let's get a little bit of pink. And I quite liked how the pink really took on the purples. I can see it on there. Let's see if it's just, oh yeah, I just love how the pink has taken sort of on the purple. So what I'm going to do is, I want a little bit, where have you gone? This is when you've got too many things out, Tracy. I want a little bit of text on there. So I'm going to use my shadowed elements. Another stamp I can't stop using. I'm going to use the shadowed elements, and I'm just going to use a little bit of text. And then I'm just going to take that text, just with Nocturne Black. I did use Nocturne Black, didn't I? Yeah, I've got that many ink pads out. There we go. Just added a little bit of text to there. Lovely. And then we'll just cut out our floral. Now I'm going to leave a little white border because I think that will just pop nicely just against our background. Now I know some of you don't like fussy cutting. If you don't like fussy cutting, add some of these black florals over the top of your page. I love doing a bit of fussy cutting. I like the life that it gives to a project. It just gives a different dimension. You know, I like stamps to offer more than just stamping in black and colouring. I like them to offer you more than that. You know, I like it to be versatile. And I know there's a lot of companies that say, well, you can do this in 5 minutes. You can do this quickly. You can, you know, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. Well, for me, being creative, it's all about having fun and enjoying it. If you know, are sort of going to get stressed about it or not enjoy it, then there's no point doing your hobby. I just love adding little bits and pieces. But if you just like not cutting out, then you could add the florals just in black over the top if you don't like that cutting out. But I'm going to add a few florals, and I'm going to faff quite a bit. Now we're not going to stick these down yet, so I want another one that I'm going to cut a little bit smaller. So let's grab the stencil again that I just keep losing. We will do one in black as well. So let's take those colours again. Shaded lilac, which I've not needed to add any more colour. It's on the brush because those brushes hold that colour beautifully. This is the wilted violet. Again, I don't need to add more colour. Let's see if we can get away with the pink as well. Yeah, we don't need to add any more. And let's see if you can keep the stencil in place and it's not too thick. And we can add a little bit, preferably the right way, Tracy, is often a good sign. A little bit of text. There you go. That's it. And we can then cut that one out. I'm going to make this one a little bit shorter when we finally add it to the page. Let's just clean those black areas up. The only reason I stopped then and cleaned those black areas up, it just sticks to your non-stick craft sheet, so just wiping it away while that's still a little bit damp. I love the little details. There we go. Oh, that was a bit of a square edge, Tracy. And I love the fact I've done the stems long, but you can cut them as short or as long as you wish. Let's bring in our page again. Now this is going to be a bit shorter, so let's trim that. Oh yes, like that. Love, love, love. So I like where those are. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bend the flower heads and just stick them down because I like exactly where they are. And then I can worry about the stem afterwards. Place that one down there, like so. And then take a little bit of adhesive there. Lovely. And then we'll just do one with a little bit of black to bring in that black stamping that we've done. Excuse me. So just need the black. Where have you gone? I have got a little bit of sponge that I've used with black ink and I was trying to find that, that's why. So I want this a little bit, let's have a look. There, like that. So now what I'm going to use my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And I'm just going to add that sponge, cut and dry foam. If you're going to use your blending tools, just make sure that you keep that blending tool for the VersaFine Clairs. There we go. And then if you wipe off your stencil quite quickly, it will come straight off. If you don't and you forget, you can either use hand sanitizer or pure alcohol just to remove that. So we're then going to cut our black one out. Now, because we're going to cut out, let's just give that a dry. Mainly because we've put that VersaFine Clair ink on there. We've put that on there quite richly. So we just need to make sure We don't want to go and smudge it after we've... Oops, sorry, she says, as she nudges the camera. And of course the phone rings. It always rings when I'm going to do a video. We'll just ignore that. And you know, most of the time we don't use the landline, so I don't know why we've got it in here. And half the time when you do with the landline is mainly scammers, so, or trying to sell something. So it's just, and you always know because they just cut off. There we go. Let's cut that out. Again, we can cut it as short as we wish. And just, that's because I've touched my stamps with the black ink on. There we go. And the black just adds that pop, and then it coordinates with the black on here. Absolutely love it. Let's just add our adhesive. If you were making a card, you could obviously add a little dimension and lift those florals up. With it being in my journal, I'm not doing that. Don't know what I'm leaning on, but there we go. Let's move that out of the way. It's because I've got so many ink pads out. I'm trying to keep that so that you can see that. I've got all my splatters on my finger. Now, I don't know how dry that black ink is, but the longer you leave it, the better. Just to give a few white highlights. I always think a few white highlights really add to that. So now you know I've got to use my Posca pen. So I'm going to use that Posca pen because I just adore using it. Lovely. So that's a Posca paint pen. And then I want to add some wording. And I think I'm going to use the Wonder of Nature. And I'm going to use Create Your Own Rainbow. Love that. So we'll add that one. I was going to say I haven't made much mess this time, but I'm kidding myself. There we go. And then we're going to stamp that in our black. We've got a little bit of card that's got a straight edge. Don't want to waste any card, you know. Right, so take... This is a very fine... What is this? Have I got the right one? No. Haven't got the right sentiment. That'll teach me, won't it? It's that one. It's the one below. Let's give that acetate a little bit of a wipe while I remember. Shall we try again? So I'm going to use that VersaFine Clair. Now, it's a little thin, fine sentiment. So again, you don't really need to press hard. Just doesn't need it at all. Now you could cut that up, or you can have it as a whole sentiment. So let's just cut that for the moment. Now I think, yeah, so you could cut up each word individually, or just keep it as the whole. There we go, I've got so many bits of card now. Now I'm not going to put a black edge on that because I'm just going to highlight it with some Inktense grey, because I love that pop of white. Just take that pop of white, add that there, like so. And then we can add our Inktense pencil. Let's just make sure before I say it that we can find, I've got the lid from the water brush, there it is, so that we're not looking for it like we normally are. So I'm going to add a little bit of shading, just to those florals, just to make them pop a little. That's still a bit wet, that blob. It'll dry eventually. There we go. So just grab our water. I love losing myself in a page. Actually, we didn't put any Inktense. There we go. Let's just take, shall we do the sentiment first? So we want that quite dark. There we go. Just take a little bit of blending. And it, when you see it in sort of real life, you know, properly with your eyes, you can see that sort of the shading and everything really adds and gives that sort of definition to the page. Right. So I just then want a little bird. So I think I'm going to go for the bird off New Beginnings TE4. Some nice sentiments on that one as well, the TE4. That little bit of card. Nobody knows where the A7 block went. And again, I'm going to use that VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And you can see, even when it's a small stamp, I do give that a really good inking. And again, I still give that time, excuse me, to absorb onto that white card. Beautiful. We'll just cut our little bird out that says calm and peace. And I'm just going to leave, again, as always, a little tiny white border. It is easier if you cut the feet out first with the whole thing actually still in place in the card, and I just keep forgetting to do that. just think there's something about stamps, how you can create your own little embellishments with the stamps as well, especially by cutting out little bits and pieces. I just love it. This is why it's easier when if you cut the feet out first. There we go. That's it. So we've got our little bird, and it's entirely up to you where you place him. Let me just have a look. Oh, I like him here. Just add a little bit of adhesive to there. Sort of on, preferably standing upright, Tracy, with his foot on the edge of the rainbow word. Thank you. Now again, I need to really wait for that ink to dry, but you can add a few little squiggles to your bird, and that is then your page completed. And I've really enjoyed just creating and enjoying myself. Let's lift this up just so that you can see that. Just love all the details. I love that strawberry. And the fact that we've got more colours in the VersaFine Clair, we can add sort of tone on tone to our stamping. Just love that. Now, the only thing I think that we need now, just to finish it off, just as I was about to say goodbye, is just one little touch. So we get our little text stamp, and we get our Nocturne black ink, and all we're going to do is add tiny touches of black stamping, and I mean tiny touches. And why am I doing that? So can you see we've got a tiny touch of black here, because it sort of balances this out a little bit with that black stamping. I've got some of that white paint on my stamp, so we'll just give that a little bit of it. So I just want a little bit more that black stamping. I'm not overpowering anything. I'm just that better. Maybe just extend it a little bit. Just up here. There we go. So I've got that balance of the black, and that's more pleasing to my eye, so I'm very happy with that. So before we say bye, we'll just clean our stamp because it's got a little bit of that white paint on. There we go. And if we just lift this up one final time, just so you can see that black stamping. Really pleased with that. So I hope you've enjoyed the step-by-steps. I hope you'll give it a try. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.